Kara leaned over the console of the Galactic Veil, the aging transport ship rattling against the occasional solar gust. Her fingers danced with practiced ease, keying in commands while her eyes flickered to the nearby view screen, its long dormant static crackling to life. Just beyond a swirling nebula, the intergalactic habitat port idled, a hub of wrinkled glimmering metal, each module a testament to species that once sailed the void like she did now, but on better-built vessels. "Look alive," Emil's voice echoed from behind her. He shoved his helmet back, revealing a messy mop of curls that rebelled against the tight confines of the cockpit. Starfire, setting up another scavenger rule, said no outsiders for the next solar cycle. Wonder if they missed our last visit. More like no one wants to deal with us, Kara replied, a smirk tugging at her lips. Can't say I blame them. Emil shot her a look that blended exasperation and admiration. You know, humans have made a choice not to take the hint. We do have that reputation. Reputation? Or just good marketing, she mused, flashing him a cheeky grin. Behind them, a crew of aliens shuffled about in the lower deck. They'd already started packing the supplies, crates of energy bars and hydration packs, even some pre-packaged food rations that smelled like failure. Can we focus? This isn't just another run, he countered, shifting weight to his toes, the slight tremor of excitement pulsing through him. You think the Galactic Council would send us a message regarding interspecies negotiations if they didn't need our cunning expertise? You mean our crazy plan that even we think is nuts? She shot back with a laugh, but her voice faltered as she glanced at the holographic display of their impending rendezvous point. Waves of an incoming solar storm wrapped around it, the faint red alerts blinking ominously. We're going to get fried before we even get to make the pitch. Cliché, Emil said with mock seriousness. No fry, just a little heat. Besides, what's life without a little drama? Kara began to laugh again, but cut off as the holographic field turned from crimson to corrosive green, the unmistakable sign of the Council's back channels igniting with their usual bureaucratic chaos. She quickly swiped through the documents falling into their inbox, words like urgent and collaboration flashing erratically. Stupid Council couldn't stand a life built on improvisation, but as humans, they thrived in chaos. Okay, we're doing this. Just remember, Emil pointed a finger playfully at her, our reputation hinges on unorthodox results, crazy, even. As her anxiety twirled, she nodded, allowing his teasing to lift the weight on her shoulders. Unorthodox is kind of our specialty, she said, her voice steady now, casting her attention to the swirling nebula cows they were butting against. They were preparing to forge ahead into unfamiliar territory, unlike anything they'd faced before. The Galactic Council had tasked them to a regional powerhouse of median political agglomeration, the 7-syllable name slipping past Kara's mind like an eel, but it didn't matter. They were the crazy humans who, despite facing ridicule, had visions that set a new tone for galactic play. A few moments later, a ping announced an incoming communication. With a deliberation born of optimism and uncertainty, she tapped to accept the connection. Delegates of the Galactic Council, the barren face of an alien floated in the hazy blue void, 6 limbs splayed against the shimmering backdrop. Its voice dripped with disdain. You are late yet again. Care to explain? Last we met, you squandered our time. Do not think I will tolerate more. You know, Emil piped up, a grin creeping to his lips, being late is just a cultural misunderstanding for us humans. It's not that we lack respect. It's that we're just chronologically challenged. Jazura, the agitated delegate, narrowed his bulbous eyes. This isn't a jest. The ongoing conflict places our galaxy's very existence at risk. And the measure of your time could have wide-ranging consequences. And that's why we're here, Kara's interjected, her presence commanding. We're offering a solution, a plan that sounds insane, our finest work yet. Oh? And who would entrust you with our fate? Jazura scoffed, each syllable laced with skepticism. Us, Emil said simply, pride imbued in his steady gaze. We're humans. Brace yourselves. As if she were hearing echoes of outrage in the silence of disbelief, Kara took a leap of faith. Leaning forward, she outlined their proposal, a melding of advanced technology and creative strategy, cunning maneuvering in the prosthetic gameplay of the nearby Brynox sector, home to the very heart of the conflict. With each passing second, their bravado coalesced with the incredulity where one could sense the council getting pulled into their whirlwind. Time rumbled around them like thunder. "We will do what is impossible," she finished, adrenaline coursing through her. "If you give us a chance to work in our way, you may realize that sometimes crazy is the only way to get things done." Seconds stretched into agonizing measures, the council's silence enveloping the room. And then, a counter-proposal, humans, Jazura finally articulated, his eyes darkening. Composure at the helm, Kara felt a tremor of nervous energy. She would overcome sickening patterns of doubt and failure. They had won their gamble, and now she just had to make their plan happen. "Admit it, humans," Jazura continued, a glint of fascination edging its severity. "Perhaps it's time we embrace your so-called craziness." One wild grin slipped across Emil's features, and as Kara acknowledged this emotional shift toward hope, she felt gravity pulling her back with force. A new mission loomed before them, fraught with danger. They weren't just crazy, perhaps they were destined to be the unlikely saviors of a galaxy on the brink of self-annihilation. And Kara dared to dream that they might just handle the heat. The atmosphere in the Galactic Council chambers shifted imperceptibly, a tension more palpable than the artificial gravity that held the assembled delegates in their rarefied seats. Kara watched as Jazura's demeanor morphed from skepticism to begrudging interest, his multiple eyes darting back and forth as he gathered the implications of her proposal. She couldn't help but feel a rush of satisfaction. They had made it this far, crossed that threshold from ridicule to intrigue. "Let us discuss the particulars," he conceded, that glint of curiosity still dancing in his gaze. "You propose a joint venture into the Brynox sector, a bold move, but what guarantees can you offer us that your crazy innovations will succeed where others have failed?" Kara glanced at Emil, who was now rehearsing his points, fingers pressed against the table in a way that highlighted his growing determination. Together, they had transformed the vague outlines of the plan into something that couldn't just be dismissed as folly. "Wisdom tends to emerge unexpectedly from chaos, delegate," Emil interjected. The enthusiasm in his voice was infectious. "The Brynox sector is on the brink. Its factions are fractured and desperate, paralyzed by infighting. They don't need a heavy-handed approach, they require a catalyst. Our plan will use existing tensions to unite them against a common enemy, the encroaching interstellar syndicate." Jazura's expression shifted, a flicker of something, suspicion or interest, flashing across his features. Kara pressed on, heart pounding. "We'll turn their conflicts into a unifying force. Using fabricated intelligence, we can stimulate avoidable skirmishes, forcing the factions to consolidate their defenses. It's risky, yes, but it's a tactic that could very well lure the Syndicate into overextending their forces." "Fabricating conflicts? You think a lie can build trust?" Jazura challenged, incredulity lacing his voice. "It's not the lie that creates unity," Kara replied, her voice steadier now, "but the need to respond. Trust will iron itself in the fire of shared calamity. Or we can choose to do nothing and let the Syndicate dismantle everything we hold dear. Do you realize the weight of that gamble?" Jazura continued. "To play their game, to become enmeshed within their chaos. Is that not exactly what the Galactic Council has been doing for eons?" Emil cut in, brow furrowing as he leaned closer to the screen. "When you won't make a change, the only thing that rises is retribution. Use us as your pawns, allow us to instigate crucial change. We may not implement the Council's pristine ideologies, but what if our strategy succeeds? It can cast ripples through the galaxy." The room fell silent, the delegates shifting as they considered the implications. Tension built, the stakes felt like a tightening noose around Kara's throat. Just as silence thickened, a voice, one Kara was less familiar with, called out from the far side. "Are you suggesting humans possess the ingenuity to amend centuries of entrenched diplomatic conflicts?" Krellick, a tall, thin skeletal being, warped with hues of dark blue and silver, regarded them from his corner. What's to guarantee your improvisation won't unravel the very threads that bind our home systems together? Kara felt sweat bead at the nape of her neck. She hesitated before responding. No plan can be guaranteed to succeed, especially not one as unconventional as ours. Instead, we offer adaptability. Should the situation shift in unforeseen ways, we'll have contingencies ready to adapt, to improvise. Improvise? Krellick's tone held an inflection as if the word itself were foreign, ponderous. Yes, improvisation is the vital ingredient in our species' survival. Centuries of setbacks have led us to ingeniously adapt. For every plan we draft, the real effectiveness emerges in our response to real-time events. That's the height of our humanity. The alien's brows furrowed, contemplating this perspective until Jazura interjected again. Perhaps it is time we lean into the unconventional. Chaos can engender innovation, but it must remain controlled chaos. The council murmured as they exchanged glances. They were veering onto uncharted territory. A state of uncertainty permeated the air as they mulled over the risks inherent in Kara's plans. When Emil abruptly lifted his hands, however, the casualness of the gesture calmed the room. Look, let's reserve our debates for later. We have less than a solar cycle before the Syndicate strikes. They sense the instability and will pounce. Save your hesitations for after we've ensured an alliance. Jazura leaned back, a sliver of respect igniting in his eyes. If we are to proceed, can you assure us that your team possesses the skills to execute this? Yes, Kara responded urgently, overriding a self-impressed grin at the irony. We're a two-person team, but we're resourceful. A few contacts in the Brynox sector are already loyal to us. They can facilitate our entrance, as long as we keep moving and plan everything on record. Their approval was slow, a glacial concession that seemed to resonate with this new strategy. They couldn't afford to let the Syndicate annihilate their hope of unity. Perhaps their desperation would forge them into allies. And so the council deliberated, finally voting to trust the plan that Kara and Emil had proposed. When they received their directive, a last-minute agreement, Kara heard the weight of their choice rest heavily on her shoulders. As they stood on the balcony outside the council chamber, gazing across the starlit expanse, Kara felt Emil's excitement radiate like sunlight, lightening the shadows of doubt lingering in her heart. This is it, Emil said, thrusting his arms wide. From ridicule to a turning point, what's more human than that? We crafted that proposal from thin air. Yes, but the work we will face is monumental, Kara replied, frowning. What if we bring about chaos instead of unity? Emil leaned closer to her, searching for her gaze. Failures aren't the end, they're opportunities to learn. We succeed or we fail, but we'll do it together. That's the plan, it's how we've always adapted. His words coursed through her thoughts and eased the pit in her stomach. She wondered if she could lean into expectations she once shunned. The preparation for the upcoming mission pulsed between them, a ritual they must now perform and retake their roles as life weavers. Kara felt a churn of confidence, gratitude, and perhaps even a budding recognition that this partnership had grown into something great. As they reviewed coordinates and detonated their progress with casual banter, unblemished by fear, the reality of their daunting path unfolded ahead. The influx of uncertainty melded with an easy camaraderie, weaving itself deep until the riskiest of outcomes felt promising. Do you think they'll take to improvisation as well as we will? Emil teased, nudging her with an elbow. I certainly hope they have better sense than to crack too many jokes with a Syndicate soldier, Kara quipped back with a laugh, but the underlying tension remained. A sudden beep from the console drew her attention. The holographic interface pulsed brightly as an alert flickered across their eyes. Wait. They're shipping in now, she gasped, words jumbled by a rising panic. They're organizing. We need to implement changes as planned. Emil peered at the screen, adrenaline sparking as he focused on the new information. The timing is off, we need to make adjustments. They're already zigzagging toward the Perksy system instead of receiving the front lines. Contingencies, Kara recalled, kicking her mind into overdrive. Let's coordinate communications with our Brynox contacts now. We'll make sure the factions are ready to combat Syndicate troops gravitating toward the weakened spheres before the day is out. Agreed. Quick, the comm link, we reallocate resources and time. Emil barked, fingers poised. Kara hadn't felt this exhilaration since her early days of space travel, a thrill of novelty edged with anxiety. Each detail rushed past them with frenzied agility, a tapestry woven with ingenuity. The clock cycled faster now, time trickling down, inching towards reckoning, metaphorically resonating with layers of urgency, chaos, and bonds that were about to be forged or sundered. The Council may have staked their credibility on their crazy idea, but they would not falter. Kara and Emil were ready to fight for their plan, one not just born from wild ambition but from the collective darkness of others' failures, determined to ensure that they made the sacred bond stronger, using their very humanity to defeat what threatened their galaxy. As the stars glimmered outside, they prepared for the dance of desperation and unity, ready to embrace the unexpected. As the sun began to rise over the swirling nebula, casting a cascade of light through the ship's viewport, Kara and Emil worked furiously to fine-tune their strategy. The metallic hum of the galvanic veil surrounded them like an active pulse, its core engine beating a steady rhythm that matched the urgency in their hearts. They had less than a solar cycle, time was slipping through their fingers. Okay, we've successfully reached our Brynox contacts, Emil said, his fingers dancing across the console. They're setting up a rendezvous with the faction leaders. If we pull this off, we can draw them into an alliance against the Syndicate's advance. Kara nodded, but doubt flickered in her mind. Are we sure we can rely on them? The factions have been at each other's throats. Can a shared enemy really unite them? Desperation makes strange bedfellows, Emil replied with a wry smile. Remember, we're not just relying on ideological arguments. We're in this for their survival. This syndicate isn't just a threat, they're an extinction event. With that, Kara felt the pulse of optimism surge. Fear was a potent driver of innovation, and their approach played right into that. She moved to the comm station, activating the external communications relay to reach their potential allies. This isn't just about winning a war. It's about creating an opportunity, something greater than themselves. As she prepared the transmission, she felt a wave of determination wash over her, a realization that greater change could emerge from this moment. If they pulled this off, they'd not only save lives, but catalyze a real shift in how interspecies conflict was handled. Her heart raced, perhaps their crazy plan would birth a new era of cooperation. Connecting now, Emil said. The screen flickered, and vibrant colors filled it, representing their contacts in the Brynox sector. Blinking lights moved around frantically, emblematic of the chaos surrounding them. A familiar figure emerged, a hulking blue creature sporting multiple arms and an air of anxious authority. Kara. Emil, roared Troon, the leader of one of the Brynox factions. His voice came through distorted, crackling with urgency. Time is against us. Can you justify this power surge? Kara took a deep breath, her voice held the weight of their mission. Troon, we have intel indicating that the Syndicate is preparing a massive offensive against your territories. But we need your trust, and we need your people. Troon's brow furrowed. Trust is a currency we have little left of. Why would my faction abandon our engagements for your untested strategy? Because our success hinges on cooperation, Emil interjected, stepping forward to capture Troon's attention. Your leaders might bicker over territory, but we're here to fight for survival. You're all on the same battlefield now, and if you don't band together, you'll lose that ground to oppression. They are coming for you. There was a moment of tension as Troon considered Emil's words, his many eyes reflecting doubt and something else, a glimmer of hope. Finally, he nodded slowly. Then I will gather the other leaders. We will meet, but understand this, any betrayal will lead to calamity for your kind. Only cooperation triumphs in calamity, Kara replied, locking eyes with Troon. We need to believe in each other, make our fears our bond. After a short pause, Troon grunted acknowledgement, his bulky figure disappearing back into the maelstrom of fragmented pixels. With renewed energy, Kara turned back to Emil, who was almost bouncing in his seat. I think we managed the first step. If we can show them they have more in common than hatred, if we can leverage their fears, we might be able to transform this chaos into a new alliance, maybe even reshape how sectors view cooperation. If anyone can pull this off, it'll be us, Emil said with a grin, a fire blazing in his eyes as they both leaned over the console. We stick to our strengths, remember? We adapt, we improvise. Let's move fast. With their strategy in motion, they initiated communication with their Brynox contacts to schedule a meeting. But as they delved into specific details, the warnings from the Brynox began to surface. A ghostly message arrived, fragments of urgency embedded in fast-spoken words. The Syndicate has rusted its claws, an armada approaches. They're preparing to strike. An imbalance gripped Kara's stomach. We need to make this meeting happen before it's too late. We'll use our limited time to stage a defense and present our plan. As they set their course towards the gathered Brynox leaders, anticipation perched at the edge of their nerves. With each moment that ticked by, they felt the impending weight of their mission pressing down. Within hours, they reached a rocky rendezvous point on the outer edge of the sector, illuminated by the soft glow of distant stars. This desolate expanse was merely a backdrop, so unlike the looming threat they faced. A gaggle of alien ships hovered around them, visual representations of each faction now gathered together in this daring dialogue. Kara stepped out onto the worn ground, her feet hitting the gravel as weapons and creatures surrounded her. Emil stood beside her, exuding an air of confidence as they prepared to address the leaders of the factions. She stole a glance around, observing the squabbling factions. Game faces, right? Emil murmured, humor brimming beneath the surface of tension. Game faces, Kara echoed, feeling adrenaline spike her resolve as they took center stage. We can't fail now. As the factions' leaders assembled, the cacophony of their bickering became tangible, a chaotic symphony resonating with mutual grievances. Kara's heart pounded as all eyes turned upon her. She summoned her courage and took a deep breath before stepping forward. Honorable leaders of the Brynox factions, she began, her voice steady despite the uncertainties clawing at her mind. It is no secret that you share a bitter history marred by conflict. But as your enemies gather at your doorstep, I urge you to see beyond the past quarrels and focus on the threat at hand. This isn't just about territory, it's about survival. The crowd momentarily quieted, weighty stares frozen upon her. Emil flashed a supportive nod, and Kara pressed on, using every ounce of her charm and ingenuity to win them over. Let me share what we're going to do. The Syndicate's strategy is predictable. They thrive on division, exploiting your animosities to fracture your defenses. But together, as one united force, we can counter them. We can construct a shield around your people, a united front that safeguards all territories. One of the leaders, a wiry figure with sallow skin, scoffed. And how, exactly, do you propose we unite? Our factions will never cooperate. It is the way of the Brynox. Desperation is a powerful uniters, Emil interjected. The Syndicate is poised to exploit your struggles. You need not only fortifications or military might, think of the advantage you possess, the collective wisdom of your disparate strengths. It's your legacy to enhance, not diminish. Kara could feel the air ripple with a mixture of doubt and interest. She pressed ahead, recalling the natural adaptability that had allowed humans to survive so many calamities across time. Now is the moment to reframe your rivalry into a shared cause. Use Stratopolitan's commandeered intelligence to form strategic alliances against their impending assault. The crowd pulsated with murmurs, leaders whispering to each other as Kara kept their focus. Recognition sparked in their eyes. This was a plan not entirely built on hope, but on harnessing their strengths collectively. In unity, your species will create a guard that no enemy could pierce. Emil continued, his voice slicing through the stillness. The Syndicate may have underestimated you, believing you unable to rise above your differences. That convention is about to backfire upon them. Another leader spoke up, his demeanor serious. You suggest we abandon old rivalries, turning them into cooperation? What's in it for us? Victory! Kara exclaimed passionately. When you pool your resources and skills, you'll build not just weapons, but bonds. Your factions can stand against oppression. Here, we have a unique opportunity. Frayed ties are merely threads eager to be woven anew. As the weight of her message resided within the leaders, cacophony gave way to meaningful dialogue. They debated passionately, rationalizing their doubts, fears, and beliefs with fervor. For the first time, they were truly engaging with the essence of her assertions. Moments passed, the discussions rising and falling like the tides. When silence reclaimed the air, Troon emerged finally, his imposing form towering over the smaller leaders. Perhaps there is merit in the human suggestion, he declared, a weighty decision permeating his voice. For survival, we may set aside our grievances, forge an alliance by necessity. A ripple of surprise echoed amongst them. Leaders glanced at one another cautiously, but camaraderie was taking root as the gathering began discussing initial tactics against an incoming threat, gathering strength against a common adversary. Kara couldn't help but smile. This was the unity she had envisioned, a convergence born from survival. Yet, as optimism surged within her, another frantic voice broke the gathering's resolve. Warning! Alert! The Syndicate has arrived, a frantic voice crackled through the communications array. They are launching an all-out assault. Panic rippled through the assembly as alien ships flared to life, liftoff engines bellowing as vibrations pervaded the air. The factions began to scatter. Kara caught Emil's eye, the realization settling heavily. Hold your ground! Emil shouted, voice piercing through chaos. Remember, we are here together. Act as one. Gathering her strength, Kara nodded at Troon, then addressed the various faction leaders. This is not just an attack, this is your chance to prove your newfound alliance. Take up arms, each of you. Stand firm. Use your individual strengths, create a cohesive unit. Show the Syndicate that you are more than a collective of fragments, you are a cohesive force. As the leaders rallied their fighters, gestures transforming into serpentine formations, signs of resolve swept the battlefield. Their ships reshaped in formations, each finding transitions into bouts of cover fire and targeted engagements, something Kara had always hoped to witness. With ships communicating and coordinating as one, the tide of chaos merged into something purposeful, a dance of engagement against the encroaching forces. Ships darted and weaved among each other, arcs of energy firing in brilliance against the darkness. Let's join the fray! Emil shouted, pulling Kara back into action as they boarded the Galactic Veil. We'll support them. Kara gripped the controls tightly as they soared out into the scene, witnessing firsthand the beauty of their plan manifesting. It was messy, explosive, and chaotic, but it was alive with a vivid pulse of energy and determination. In the heart of conflict, she saw old rivalries clarifying into purpose. Where desperation once shadowed, a glorious fight echoed in the starlit void. It was a fleeting, beautiful sight, guiding the ship through its storm to find hope amidst the barrage of battles. As shots exchanged in the dark void of space, the Galactic Council was now enriched with humanity's capability for rebirth, diplomacy, and adaptability amidst chaos, proof that sometimes the wildest notions could spawn the most profound connections. Look, beside you! Emil shouted, pointing to the screen filled with frenetic movements as glimmering factions surged forth. The tide is changing. As the chaos of battle unfolded, Kara guided their ship with deft precision, weaving alongside ally ships, sending volleys of usefulness back toward their foes. Each maneuver felt exhilarating, every hit on the Syndicate forces echoed with defiance. By the stars! They're holding their ground. Troon's voice erupted from the comms, bursting with unblemished incredulity. Stop your jesting. We're repelling them. I believe it, Kara grinned, adrenaline spiking as their ship hurled and spun dangerously near enemy lines. Forward momentum held fast as hope blended with action. As the tide began to shift, the collective sacrifices bore fruit. The Syndicate's initial tenacity bore the ugly face of panic as they began to falter against the newfound onslaught. Ship after ship found itself in the storm, the once imposing force crumbling. All factions, focus fire on the lead ship. Let's send them packing. Troon implored, and precious seconds of resistance turned into an advantage of resilience. Kara relayed the commands, the Brynox leaders echoed the resolve against overwhelming odds. For every ship that fell from the Syndicate's forces, the energy within her grew boundless. But amid the frenzy, something dark flared within the depths of their territory, huge ships powering up for a final stand, signature weapons gearing for nothing less than total obliteration. We need to act now, or we'll be obliterated. Emil bellowed in urgency, eyes scanning for a plan that could exploit the fleeting chance. We'll take out their positioning limp, it's time for a counter-offensive. Kara nodded. Agility beats strength. Manipulate from beneath by exploiting their weaknesses. Engage. Emil urged, driven by the thrill of the fight and the spark of survival. It was now or never. As their ship banks into the fray, Kara expertly maneuvered them toward Enterprise, skillfully dodging incoming fire as they narrowed their sight upon the flagship's power core. The mission pulses, the anticipation mounting like the countdown of sundials sinking in quicksand. They darted through fire, narrowly avoiding retaliatory drones as they engaged the arms of their leverages, culminating into a sharp arc of intensity. With precision and force at the helm, the Galactic Veil surged upward alongside a collective strike from their allies, their coordinated effort a symbiotic thrust against the Syndicate's arsenal. As they struck with fierce force, it felt like the power of collaboration unlocking what had once seemed so unfathomable. The flagship began to tremble intermittently, riven by vulnerable jolts until they unmoored, falling prey to the onslaught that had unified once divided entities. Forward momentum. We get inside now. Emil called, adrenaline rushing as Kara pulled the control stick, plunging them deeper into the chaos. Kara felt the exhilarating rush mount as every ship that came within view opened fire, their shimmering trails of energy illuminating the void. Repelling the Syndicate forces felt tangible as each blazed with the shared resolve of brightening possibilities. Then, as moments crested upon ruptured dawn, her heart soared alongside the ecstatic chorus echoing through the comms, the fears of loss transforming into exultant cries of triumph. When the Syndicate flagship untangled under seething energy patterns, its core flared with bright luminescence before erupting into a radiant display of colors. The shockwaves rippled throughout the battlefield, rattling surrounding ships as cheers erupted from every front. Kara exhaled the breath she didn't realize she was holding, her heart racing not from fear but from the deep wellspring of triumph that flowed through each interconnected ship as unity flourished against all odds. We did it! They're collapsing. Emil grinned ear to ear, pounding his fist, emotions colliding in a symphony of exultation. As they surveyed the results of their collaborative efforts, the Syndicate's force unraveled into a disjointed glimmer against the darkened sky. Ships parted ways, taking evasive action, scattering into retreat despite their former strength. The stars shone more brightly as they surveyed the remnants of chaos, rising into the cadence of victory flooding the airwaves. At long last, the waves of exhilaration poured through Kara's veins, and she laughed, genuine, unfiltered joy surfacing in the aftermath. We did it! Amid the jubilant chatter of their allies, animalistic solidarity prevailed. Kara and Emil had been part of something monumental, the collective resolve rippling through time and spaces never before foreseen. Actors in a drama that defied definition. As her camera caught the falling silhouettes, a spellbinding cloak unfolded, healing, renewal blossomed from the fractures of despair. The Galactic Council had witnessed a turning point, humanity's place forged among the stars. In the aftermath of chaos, and calm grew heavy, solidarity forged through calamity, an echo of collective creativity birthed from desperation reverberated across ships. With newfound emphasis, they would lay pathways toward strategies yet unheard, alliances nurtured in the affection of survival, humanity introducing adaptability against the sands of time. And Kara, amidst the empty space, now whispered bravely across the stars, clutched the calm as she finally breathed into the aftermath, the weight of possibilities nearing realization cooking like the colors of a dawn. Crazy ideas, eh? Emil nudged her side, a grin stuck plastered across his face. Sometimes the crazy ideas are the only way to survive, Kara replied, locking eyes with the horizon before them. A smile blossomed on her face, radiating hope as her heart echoed star-lit laughter that stretched across dimensions. The Galactic Council had seen their reaction and realized that what was crazy was often simply the greatest adventure, a shared leap into the depths of change. Together, they would shape and reframe how the galaxy would respond to the trials of existence. With the dawn breaking anew, Kara and Emil looked upon the stars, the strokes of a grand narrative yet to be written, bound by heart, chance, and destiny, reveling in the legacy born from an idea deemed too crazy to take flight.